This presentation is presented by Farm to School BC and is the How to Build Grow Station webinar. Farm to School BC is a program administered by the Public Health Association of BC and is supported by the Province of British Columbia and the Provincial Health Services Authority. Today we're going to focus on how to build a simple do-it-yourself at-home grow station that can grow up to 72 seedlings to maturity, easily fit in a classroom. It can be a great fundraiser, a chance to teach kids about science. So we will focus just on the construction, what the budget looks like, etc. Agenda, purpose, budget, building tips, and next steps. What can a grow station grow? As mentioned before, 72 seedlings. If you grow in typical 3-inch trays, 3-inch cells in the trays, and you can grow seedlings up to about almost 2 feet tall, which would only be tomatoes and peppers. Time inputs. Building a station takes about 2 hours. Of course, planting seedlings, raising seedlings, if you were to do this with a classroom, it would take about 2 sessions. Daily maintenance is about 5 minutes each day, which is watering. And overall, to raise seedling in a classroom, to put into a garden or to sell for a fundraiser, takes about 2 months, depending on the variety. Some details here on the grow station materials, what you would buy if you went to a store. This does not include saw or drill or any of the tools needed to build. Just a basic light timer. It's going to be pretty important. You're going to be plugging into it, setting your time for about 16 hours a day. Just any old one you can find at a hardware store or other stores is going to be sufficient. It doesn't need to be unique in any way. 2 major pieces of wood you're going to be using are 2x4s and 2x2s. 2x4s will be the frame, and the 2x2s will be the cross beams and the lower cross beams for support. So, shop lights. So when we talk about shop lights, we're actually talking about the ballasts. And the lights that we've been using are the T5 fluorescent full spectrum bulbs. T5 is the type of bulb, and usually we will hang 2 sets of 2 lights. So 4 total lights will hang over your lights, and the chain that you see hanging there does come with the ballast, and it's important because you will be lowering and raising your lights to keep them at a certain distance from your plants, which is about 4 to 6 inches. So the hooks need to be able to fit over the chain rather needs to be able to fit over the hook. So when you are purchasing your lights, you might want to open up the box, pull out the chains, and then locate a hook to purchase at the same time that will be able to fit that. If you do not, you can take pliers and bend back the chain link there and lock it on. So it's not the end of the world if your hook is a little bit too big. But that was the method that I've used. Tools needed to build. So carpenter's ruler, pencil, tape measure, saw, electric drill, drill bit, sandpaper. Carpenter's ruler or square, they look like either of these 2 images. Mainly it's just to get a good straight line so that your cut is more straight. It's important for building your frame. Either of these saws work. Obviously, an electric saw is more accurate when cutting and a little bit faster, but I've used hand saws and it's totally sufficient. In terms of electric drill and bits, recommend pre-drill before putting in your screws just to stop splintering of wood, which I have a slide and a couple down the line here to show you, but you also want the Robertson drill bit, also known as the square, because that is what fits decking screws. So decking screws can either come painted, often green or brown, or they can be simply stainless steel, as you see on your right there. It doesn't really matter. Just buy whatever is cheaper, but know that you're going to be looking for 2.5 to 3-inch screws. That's the size that you're going to need. Here's simple instructions of the cuts that will need to be made of the wood. You can actually have a hardware store. Some hardware stores will do this on site for a small fee. Because you're only making about 10 cuts or something of that nature in this, it really would not be expensive. It's somewhere, from what I recall, a couple dollars per cut or less. So you'll be making 2x4 cuts, 24 inches in length. You'll have 4 total pieces. And you'll be making 20-inch cuts for the width, 4 total pieces, and then your cross beams are 48 inches in length, and there'll be 4 total pieces, and that's your 2x2. So just the assembly of the station is quite simple. You're simply building 2 end frames using the 2x4 cuts you've made, and then you're connecting those 2 frames using the 2x2 pieces on both the top and the bottom. The lights obviously hang from the top supporting beams. And so you'll want to position them as you see there so that they hang kind of equally across your trays. And I just show in 1 and 2 that you want to have the top piece be on top and on the bottom. And it just gives a little bit of a better frame, as you see in the picture there. Just gives more support for the hanging lights. The end product should look like this. You can see the cross beams on the top, and then the cross beams on the bottom are just simply providing support and getting the trays up off the ground, which is good for if there's any pooling of water. It's easier to clean and keep track, but it's really just for support. Just shows kind of where I'm putting in screws, just 2 per, and that the cross top beam there you see on the right, it doesn't come all the way across due to the length that's between the 2 end frames. It doesn't quite make it all the way flush to the end of the frame there, so it does kind of go in the middle. So just showing there, the green arrow shows the cracking when you don't pre-drill. So I mentioned earlier, so 1/8 inch is a good pre-drill to do into the spot where you're going to be putting your screws, and it just prevents it from cracking, but it's not a major issue. And then the top arrow there just shows how far it comes across. This picture shows the placement of the bottom support beams, how the trays sit on it, and again, how it's not flush to the end. I put them right in the corner there, just gives a little bit more support to the overall frame. Just shows a tray sitting up here, and shows the spacing that I do with the 2 bottom beams. You want them about that far so that it holds the tray well. Just with mounting lights, you're going to want the hooks to be as close to the end of the frames as possible so as to not have so much of a bending of your chain. You see how the chain is kind of bending over there? You want to try to prevent it from going too far over because it makes it hard when lowering and raising. Another image of just the hook there up close, just showing how close it's going to be to the end. And the chains can be bent and hooked right into the ballast, as you can see there. Just use some simple pliers, and that's where you plug it in there, just for attachment. And you'll want the lights all hanging at the same light. I do this by simply counting the loops in the chain and lowering them equally when I'm bringing them up and down, 4 to 6 inches, as mentioned before. And here's just some information about the Farm to School BC network, our provincial team contacts, regional animators, and health authority regional leads. And you can stay connected and follow us through social media platforms, our website, newsletter, sign up, and regional hub listservs. And you can see that at the front page of our website. So thank you so much for attending the workshop webinar, and look forward to more in the future. Thank you.